golfers spend a lot of cash on equipment. Well, is that equipment improving you? Now, we found examples where it does, but we found examples where it doesn't. So before you go and spend $500 on a new driver, do you have a demo that you can take on the course and put it in as a new club on ShotScope, and suddenly, am I seeing distance improvements? Am I seeing accuracy improvements? There's 60% that do see that, and there's probably 40% that don't see that. So it's trying to educate the golfer to say, okay, well, if I'm going to go make a purchase to my golf game, where's the most value? Look, in your gapping on your club averages, you've got a big hole around the 200-yard mark. Could you fit a hybrid in there? That'll do more for you than buying a new driver, because your gains are pretty good. There's lots of ways that you can use performance tracking to improve your game, improve your wallet, improve whatever it may be, or just play around with your buddies.
Golf Smarter, number 763. Introducing ShotScope V3, GPS and game tracking on your wrist with Gavin Dear.
This is Golf Smarter, sharing stories, tips, and insights from great golf minds to help you lower your score and raise your golf IQ. Here's your host, Fred Green.
Welcome to the Golf Smarter podcast, Gavin.
Thanks for having me on, Fred.
It's a pleasure to have you on. Once again, we're across the pond, but we're not going mental game this time. We're going geek game this time. And I'm not an early adopter. I'm what I call myself a discerning early adopter, right? I'll see a product and sometimes I'll be in line at 6 a.m. to go buy it. And then there's products they'll go, ooh, this is really good. I'm going to wait till the next one. I'm going to wait till that. Well, boy, am I lucky, because V3 of ShotScope has been released and I'm really enjoying it.
Yeah, I mean, thousands are, so.
and my timing was perfect because my GPS, I had a GPS and rangefinder hybrid that had died. And I'm like, oh boy, how am I going to replace that? And then we got in touch. And I'm really excited about this. Let's talk about what makes, and congratulations, by the way. I went on the website yesterday and you guys said, no, we're sold out. So that's a congratulations, and be careful what you wish for.
It is. I mean, that's something that you're starting to see across different industries that have obviously done really well in the pandemic. Say that with a note of caution. But yes, supply chain is difficult. It's a scramble, and obviously, especially golf has taken off. And we did a study and found that users were playing 35% more than last year.
Wow!
So obviously, wow. There's less options. They couldn't go to the gym in the UK and certain states in the US. You couldn't do things like that. Okay, you want to go watch the NFL on Sunday? Well, that's difficult. So why don't we get up and play? So, we've seen golf up. Therefore, it's impacted supply chain. We're fortunate we do have more stock in the US. It's available just now with some of the retailers online, and we'll have some more, but it's not easy. And it's not nice to put a sold out sign on something that people keep asking for.
Right. Well, I'm very impressed for how gracious a marketing person you are, because usually, you would say, yeah, we just can't keep them on the shelves because they're so good. But no, this guy's saying, yeah, it's our supply chain. It's like, we can't get enough. We can't get it.
Exactly. I'd love them to be on a shelf somewhere.
I bet you would. Well, let's talk about, let's break down this product, not literally, but talk about what it is, because it is a GPS system, but it's unique. And it comes into a different space. I'm sure you're familiar with game golf.
Yep.
Yeah. And game golf came out a number of years ago. And that's got the tagging system. It's got the tag, but you had to physically tap this thing at the end and you had nothing to look at. It didn't give you any readouts and everything. And actually, Golf Smarter was one of the first. We were one of the first to get on the game golf bandwagon, help them with their Indiegogo campaign, which was great. But I have a feeling the Golf Smarter community is going to be very excited about ShotScope, and we'll talk more about a giveaway at the end of this, which you've already approved. But give me some details. Let's go over what exactly ShotScope is.
Yeah, so ShotScope V3 is, as you said, we've brought two segments. One that's established, GPS watches. You as a golfer, you have to get distances now on the golf course. That's as important as a driver.
It really is.
But then what we've done is we've included this growing segment of performance tracking, shot tracking. So we've got the technology to now say, we can help you on the golf course, know your distances, play your game, enjoy the game. But when you leave it, we can give you all this data to say, this is how you can improve and play better next time. And that's key, because if you go running, 20 years ago, you went and you ran and you said, it took me 30 minutes. Now you go and run and you say, okay, well, the first mile took me 8 minutes. The second mile took me 8 minutes 40. You get all this information. Well, golf's no different. We're going to tell you how far you hit the club, how far on average you hit the club, and they can be different. Your tendencies. Do I miss the club? Do I miss tee shots left? Do I miss them right? Do I pitch with only my lob wedge? Do I use other short game clubs around the green? How do I putt? And so it'll eventually tell you and say, okay, well, look, you're going to the range. You should be going to the putting green. You're pitching with your lob wedge. Try your gap wedge. Try your sand wedge. Loft down a little bit. Or it could be as simple as, you think you hit your 8-iron 160 yards, you hit it 138. And it's not lots of decisions that improve the game of golf. It can be 2 or 3 that could save you 3 or 4 shots a round. And, that's the tendency we see. We'll see users drop their handicaps by about 3 shots in the first 20 rounds because they're just making a few better decisions.
Right.
And that's
we call that golf smarter.
Yes, exactly. And you're doing all of this. The key for ShotScope is you're collecting all that data by just playing your game. You're not tagging anything. You're not using your cell phone. You've just got your watch with your distances on it. You've got the tags in your clubs. You swing, you play. You don't think about it till you're at home later that night. Because you don't want to slow down the game. You don't want to complicate the game anymore. It's still a game. You still have to play. But it's just a case of, let's educate the golfer. But let's make sure they enjoy the game.
Statistics have become so important in golf, like all sports, where, like you said, it used to be that I'd go out for a run. I'm going to go run for 30 minutes. How far did you go? I don't know. I ran for 30 minutes. Now it's like I ran 3.7 miles in 30 minutes. Okay, now you have something to go against to try to improve, right?
Exactly. Yeah.
But the way you described it with the performance tracking, which is my favorite part of it, it doesn't make suggestions on what club you should be hitting. It's up to you to analyze the data, look for where the holes in your game are, and then use that information to later make a decision. These aren't suggestions on the golf course that the product's making.
Correct. I mean, that's, if you dial back a second, we're a 21-person company.
Wow.
More than half the employees are golfers. We vary from myself, I played as a professional, to 26 handicap golfers. So we've got the spectrum. And we quite early decided, if you're going to suggest to a golfer that he or she should hit a 7-iron to this green, and there's a 20 mile per hour wind behind that we don't know about because we're not there, and they hit the 7-iron and it goes long and out of bounds, you've lost trust. The golfer it's still the game where the golfer must make the final decision. All we're doing is saying, here's based on all your shots you've played previously. We think, here's your averages. This is what we're going to do. This is where we see most of your data short. Make sure you hit an extra club. But this is all off course, because the key on the course is you just play the game. You'll naturally make better decisions because of the time you spend looking at the data off the course.
Let's take a quick time out. We'll be back right after this. The World Series starts tonight, featuring the Dodgers, whose incredibly rich history claims some of baseball's all-time greats. The Radio Baseball Cards podcast, in its 4th season, has incredible stories as told by many of the Dodger greats going back to the 1950s, including Pee Wee Reese, Roy Campanella, Duke Snider, Steve Garvey, Ron Cey, and more. This week, we're reminded of a low-profile player who had a reputation for his quirky personality, big heart, and a nasty arm. Here's your host, the late Dodger Hall of Famer, Don Drysdale.
Here's another radio baseball card. Growing up, Charlie Kerfeld's friends didn't have his ability, so they didn't get the same breaks. Charlie knows that there are a lot of kids in need today, and he wants to help.
It's going to be my special project for as long as I play baseball. Underprivileged kids and Special Olympic kids.
If you have enjoyed the Radio Baseball Cards podcast this shortened baseball season, please know that there are more than 100 episodes with the greatest baseball players of the 20th century, including the recently passed Yankees Hall of Famer Whitey Ford on possibly the greatest rivalry in the history of the game, New York Yankees and Brooklyn Dodgers in the 1950s, known to some as the golden age of baseball. Except, of course, if you lived outside of New York. Radio Baseball Cards with Don Drysdale is free and available wherever you subscribe to your favorite podcasts. Gavin, is ShotScope legal for tournament play?
Yes. So, as with most GPS products, the GPS side is the side that's can be conforming or non-conforming. So you can go and play in your roll-up, your medals, your competitions, your club championships. You play college events. A little known fact is obviously this is V3, but our V2 was used on the European Tour.
Oh, wow.
About 12 or 13 events. And it's also been used on the European Ladies Tour. So it also has a mode called Pro Mode, which is just tracking. So you could go and play a PGA Tour event and use just the tracking mode. Obviously, you're not allowed a GPS device on the tour. So no problems.
So when you say tracking, you're talking about performance tracking, not distance tracking.
Yes, that's a good point.
Yeah. So, well, let's talk about what the differences are or the advantages of V3, the ShotScope V3, over different categories. All right. So let's just go ahead and start with a GPS rangefinder. What's the advantage of the V3 over one of Bushnell's just
over a rangefinder? I mean, quite simply, the difference between a watch to a rangefinder is speed. You know, it's on your wrist, it's there, it's available, your front, middle, back, and it'll give you distances to and over hazards. So that's speed. Again, then we're providing the performance tracking in the background on V3, which is something that a rangefinder just can't do. You know, as I said earlier, so I used to play professionally. I still play to some type of standard. But I was actually out with some friends, and one of them had a laser, and I forgot my watch. And I really struggled for 9 holes on a course I didn't know using a laser. I really missed the watch. And I'm not saying that at some point we will also sell lasers, so it's negligible, but it shocked me how much I missed the watch.
Wow.
Because I can't hit the ball 172 anymore. I hit the ball in a larger spectrum.
At least not with an 8-iron.
Yes, exactly. So I just wanted the comfort of knowing here's my front, here's my middle. I need to be in that zone. So yeah.
Well, a rangefinder, like for the area where I live, it's very hilly. And so a lot of times you'll have flags that you can't see because it's up over the hill or it's on top of the hill. And that to me is an issue with the rangefinder. Although I do like knowing, okay, so I have my front, middle, back, but the flag is actually 4 yards off of one of those numbers. I don't know why I like to have that number. I don't think it makes that much of a difference in my game. But I do like to have the exact number on that. I mean, but I think it's just my craziness, my insanity.
Yeah, I mean, we find that quite a lot of golfers will actually carry both devices.
Mm-hmm.
And potentially would use the laser within 120 yards to get a more specific distance. Fair enough. But you're right. It's the speed of being able to look down, get your numbers, off you go. And obviously the performance tracking side is, you can't do that at all with a rangefinder.
Right. And let's compare it to just GPS units.
Yeah, so we sell a GPS version of the ShotScope V3. So we sell that with GPS on its own. Reason we do that is, there's some golfers that don't want to performance track. They just want a GPS. Fine.
They don't care when they get home I played my golf. I don't need to think about it anymore.
Absolutely fine. Yep. There's a segment of those. So we do the ShotScope G3 looks exactly the same as V3, but it just doesn't performance track. It doesn't have any of that technology in it. Now we sell that at a cheaper price point.
Mm-hmm.
But for a lot of the watches, so we sell V3 at $219. A lot of the GPS watches that we compete against are $300.
Mm-hmm.
So the main difference you're going to get between that is V3 will do everything a GPS watch will do, but it does the automatic performance tracking. So that's where there's all of a sudden huge value.
Right. And now the other category that I can think of, and you can probably straighten me out that there may be more, but you're also competing against a lot of apps on people's phones.
Yeah. So this is a really interesting category.
Yeah.
So again, some insight. I think your audience will like this. So 5 years ago at the start of the company, we weren't sure how to get course maps.
Oh. That's a dilemma.
A problem. So there's a couple of places that you can get them. You can license them, and there's quite a few companies, GPS watch companies, that do license them in. But we decided, we're going to make our own database.
Wow.
So we created our own system, and we have, at one point, we had 250 mappers worldwide mapping away. We can change different satellite imagery. If you said to me, my local course is this, and there's a new bunker on hole 7, I can log on and change it in a minute, and that update will come to your app, and we'll go to your watch. So I know that I trust our distances, and I also know that if somebody comes and says, they've switched the 9s on my course, could you switch them on our course mapping? We can deal with that in a week.
Sure.
When you look at some of the apps, so having spoken and worked closely with the RNA, a lot of the apps are unregulated, so they're not conforming for use. Because they've never been tested.
By the RNA or the USGA?
They never get submitted for testing to be conforming.
Wow.
So, because they're built by app developers.
Sure, who are not golfers generally.
Exactly. So, but also, I don't know where they get their course maps from. Right. So that's the interesting side. And obviously, they rely on phone GPS, which can be patchy sometimes.
I could, you and I are looking at each other as we record this, and I can see that you were really struggling to find a word that was politically, not just politically correct, but kind.
Yes.
So you came up with patchy.
Patchy. Yeah, yeah. I would imagine most people understand what I'm saying. So yeah, it's tough, and personally, again, for me, for apps, thing that annoys me is I'm then getting emails and I'm getting text messages and I'm getting all of this information that I just don't want on a golf course.
Yeah.
So that's the big difference between watches and apps. And there's quite a few sort of good apps out there, is probably the best way to say it. Large app companies that do a lot of good insights and a lot of good stuff. But there's a lot of smaller ones that are,
patchy.
That's
the code word today, patchy.
Yeah.
Actually, we've given away, but we've also had Pete Charleston from Golf Logics on.
Again, it's a good app.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Well-founded.
And it also works with the Apple phone or the Apple Watch, so you don't have to pull your phone out, which is kind of nice.
Correct. Yeah. I mean, the interesting thing, what I would say about, because I don't know if you're going to ask this, but I'll go on. So our watches are made for golf. So I see the guys that go, you know what, I'm going to put my app on my phone and use my Apple Watch. Yeah. A GPS golf watch is a tough life. It's out there in all weather conditions, heat, cold, rain, but also, I mean, they get banged off things. Your wrists take a lot of impact. They move around. The strap buckles take a lot of impact. So, when you're looking at V3, it's lighter than an iWatch, but it's more reinforced at points that, for instance, the buckle, the strap clicks in. The 2 points where the strap connects to the housing have got more flex in them to allow for the movements that a golfer requires. So that's something to be aware of for the guy that thinks, you know what, I'm going to run this through my nice iWatch that I use during the week for work and all sorts of things, We're
going to take another time out. We'll be right back. Gavin, one of the things that, like I mentioned, that we have a lot of hills here and out. There are also a lot of golf courses near me that there's no phone signal out there. I can't get anything on my phone and stuff. Is that an issue for ShotScope? Is that you need a phone signal, or is it just satellite use that it can, as long as it can see a satellite GPS, we're good?
Yeah. So for the watch, as long as it's got GPS signal, it's good. So you're not going to have an issue on a golf course. golf course.
I've played like 5 or 6 rounds with it now, and twice it couldn't find the course, and I know that I had loaded it up from my phone onto the watch, and it just couldn't find it. It just kept telling me there's nothing within a mile of where you are. What would you?
So,
does that sound familiar?
No. So okay. So there's two options. Good. There's 2 options there. So one is, again, one of the things that our users quite like is we're able to bring out firmware updates consistently, adding new features. So whether you had the latest firmware, there was a slight bug in some GPS.
Okay.
So what that's allowed us to do is the minute you switch the watch on, it'll find GPS. Mm-hmm. And then it'll store the satellite information for later. Or it could have been a course issue where we found a course issue. So we, again, as I was saying, we have our own mapping database, and we found that we have a team that looks through and remaps courses. So it could be that course was in the middle of being remapped. So we've actually solved both of those bugs over the last, I think, week or 2 weeks. So it depends if it was after that, we need to speak further. But yeah, again, that's something that, our guys have enjoyed with V2 and now enjoy with V3. So we release free firmware updates. So since release, we've added in a last shot counter, so you can see how long your last shot was. We've got one in a couple of weeks that has a pause round in it, so that you can go and practice or hit second balls. And then on the app side, we're about to release Course Hub in a couple of weeks, which allows you to see people who have played the same course as you. It creates a par 5 longest drive competition in every par 5 around the world. It allows you to have course records and understand lots of different bits. A nice social feature. So again, that's something we're always building on the product, whether it be on the watch or in the apps afterwards.
One of the things you just mentioned, and I'm not familiar with it, is be able to see the distance of your last shot.
Yes. So if you're playing, and you've hit a tee shot down the first, and you're walking down, you unlock the button, unlock the watch, bottom left, and then you click the left button, and it will give you your last shot distance.
Oh, I love that idea.
So
there's times where it's like, oh, hit that one long. That one went 218.
Yeah, exactly. So you can see instantly how far you've hit that shot. And to be honest, it was a request that we've had from a lot of users. So again, it's something that we could work out what's the easiest way to use it on the golf course and get it in there.
Well, I guess that's the beauty of having a company with 21 people. You can be extremely nimble.
Yeah, you can. And the other thing is, with a company size of 21, everyone in the company cares deeply about the product, the users. You know, we've got great relationships with a lot of our users. We know that guys inside the app have met up to go and play. I've gone and played golf with a number of people that have traveled to Scotland. So, and even, I can give you a story. So we were, our chief exec and myself were in New York 2 summers ago for some media stuff and a bit, etc. So we flew over on the Saturday, and I used to caddy in Long Island. I went to college in America, so I know America quite well. So I thought, well, we're taking the clubs, and on the Sunday we've not got anywhere, so I'm going to book us a hotel near Bethpage, because I'll convince him to go play there the next day, and he'll not understand until we get to America. And I go, oh, Bethpage is up the road. We could go and have a look. So that's what happened. So on the Saturday night, we've flown in. We dropped the stuff off at the hotel. Oh, Bethpage is 2 miles away. David said, oh, that's great. Let's go and see. Unfortunately, he didn't want to play the black. He thought, oh, could be too hard. But we booked a time for the red the next morning. So we got up early with the jet lag, and right, well, we might as well go to the golf course. We'll hit some balls and we'll have breakfast. So we're sitting having breakfast, and the first person that walked into the clubhouse is wearing a ShotScope V2. Oh. So you're sitting there going, wow.
Wait. Now the marketing guy's with the CEO, and a guy walks in, and the CEO looks at the marketing guy, go, did you set that up? Right?
Well, this was maybe 3 years ago. So you know, we weren't that well known. And so his buddies walk in behind him. Well, we need to go and speak to him. So we went over and introduced ourselves. And his buddy goes, oh, no. This guy, he doesn't stop talking about his data with me now. Wow. He's like, and now you guys are here, I'm going to feel compelled to go and get a watch.
Yes, you should.
But it was, you know, that was amazing to us that we could be sitting there and here it is. And even, you know, with V3, we've introduced color straps. I've got some great colors, and I go and walk the dog around our local golf course, and I can see users playing, because I know we're the only people that have got red straps, teal straps, etc. So, you know, it's getting quite cool, that side of it. And, you know, meeting people that, you know, enjoy the product that we build, and they invariably have, oh, you could try and do this, or could you add this? And, you know, that's fantastic.
Yeah. No, and that tip that you just gave me, a thing that I can do that I didn't know. It's like, that's perfect. So, but being a company that is small and nimble, as we've established, what happens if somebody gets, hey, you're in a meeting and someone's like, I've gotten 2 emails this week from this issue, and you start having a conversation around the table about, do we really need to fix that? Is that fixable? I mean, is this people whining? I mean, do you get caught in the whirlwind of it's not worth going there?
Yeah, so we a couple of things happen. One, I mean, it's not a great highlight. I was on vacation last week and I got a phone call. I'm going, okay, I'll take that call. And I've tried updating your firmware and it's not working. Okay.
And you got the phone call on vacation.
I got from somebody I know in the industry who was like, straight away, So I sort of phoned our head of customer support, Jamie. If you see, he's going. I could hear in his voice, yes, big problem. And what's happened is we've just redirected them to the wrong firmware, and it didn't work. Oh. But in 32 minutes, we've launched the firmware, found the problem, stopped the firmware, relaunched the next firmware, contacted the 1,200 people that had downloaded it, and solved it in 2 hours. And you sit there and go, that's really impressive, because you can, you've got all the decision makers who are there, available, sorted. And we have pretty vocal meetings about new features, what should we be doing, because everybody's passionate. So it gets into it, but we're relying more and more on user focus groups, taking user ideas, putting surveys out to our users, asking them what they would like to see. But certainly bugs wise, we do have a categorization of bugs. And so you just work through them on what does it affect the most, and etc. And off we go.
Fascinating. All right, one more quick timeout. We'll be right back. There's a lot of social aspects that also make the ShotScope unique to other products.
Yeah. So again, Course Hub, which is being released shortly, gives off that sort of information. So it takes every hole and makes it a par 5. Gives course records, handicap course records, allows you to see other people who are playing your course, members of your course who may use ShotScope. That's one side of it. The other side, which makes it unique, is we have leaderboards. So it'll start to show you across different stats. Average driving distance. You've got a global leaderboard. You've got a US leaderboard. You've got your age demographic, your handicap demographic leaderboard. So you can start to see where you rank. The cool thing with it is if you and your buddies, say there's 10 of you, you don't always get to play golf together, but you can create a custom leaderboard. So likes of your fantasy football, your idea of pooling a sort of small group in, you can do that. You can call it what you want. You give the access code to your buddies that have got ShotScope. They sign up for that. And then you can compete, even though maybe you don't only get to play once a year, but you can compete over who's held the longest putt in the past month or the year, who's hit the longest drive, etc. And that's different and it's cool. And again, when you're talking about features, that was born out of the competitiveness of the guys in the company saying, "Oh wow, how can we see who's leading out of the company?" So
very cool. Yeah, so it's a micro social and macro social opportunities.
Absolutely, yes,
to compete. Wow. Well, how long do you hope that people? How much time do you hope people or expect people to review their stats, their data. What's the goal that once you get off the golf course, because you just want to make sure people are using it on the golf course, but you've added this whole other element of reviewing stats. What's the end goal on that one for you guys?
So average interaction for the first 3 times on the app after uploading a round, for the first round, it's about 36 minutes. So people are discovering the app, how it works, what they want to get out of the app. The key thing with what we've done on the how the app looks and interacts with the golfer is that if you want to use it for some of the social features and finding out how far you hit the ball, then you can spend 3-4 minutes on the app at a time. If you want to spend and say, okay, how many tee shots on par 4s do I hit left with this driver, then you can dig down and spend some time and say, well, actually, why don't I look at what I do with my new driver that I just bought? And you can filter and look and start to compare. You can spend as long as you want. But the key bit is making sure that the person that wants to spend 2 to 3 minutes on it can do that. This person that wants to spend an hour can do that. And they both get what they need out of the app. And I think we do that really well, actually.
Awesome. Yeah, I mean, you want people to get as much as they can out of it, not that you don't want them to go, yeah, okay, I got this, I don't need it anymore.
Or as much as they want is a better way. And so, something that we try and do as a company is we release ebooks. And what we do is I'll send you one afterwards, and it'll blow your mind. They're like 20 pages long. It's a compilation of our data that we've pulled. You know, we've pulled over 70 million shots now. And so it says, you may only be interested in finding out how far you hit the golf ball, but you're a V3 user. And because of that, here's 10 strategy mistakes that golfers make. And here's how to fix them. Or, so we're trying to, we feel like there's an onus on us to say, this is your current golf understanding of statistics. Can we just make you do a little bit more? Because it's going to help your game. Can we educate you slightly? Can we give you some ideas? You know, for instance, a topic would be hybrid versus iron. What's the crossover point between distance and accuracy for different handicap groups? And it might just be as simple as somebody say, you know what, I was going to get a hybrid and I was going to replace my forearm, but looking at that handicap section, looking at my data, maybe that's not quite the right thing for me. Or maybe it is. And that's the cool thing. You know,
that. Yeah. That was a dog barking. Yeah, we have dogs on the show.
That was my dog, and he's...
Don't worry about it.
I muted as quick as I could.
How do you mute the dog?
I don't, but I can mute the computer and whatever.
Oh, okay.
Since working from home, yeah, I'm pretty quick on the draw.
Listen, you can bring kids in, you can bring the dogs in, no problem.
I mean, he's out for blood for delivery, man.
Yeah, well, just don't take out the trash while we're having a conversation here. Working from home is okay. Well, there's elements of the performance tracking that I don't understand. And I don't even know. You can actually say, I need to know my drives on par 4s. You can get that specific?
Yes, absolutely.
Wow.
And, you know,
on this course or in general? Or
in general.
Okay.
We will at some stage bring it down to course level, but we tend to find that golfers play different courses more often than they think.
Yeah.
If that makes sense. So somebody says, I want to know my home course. You go, well, actually, looking at your data, you played there 3 times in the last 2 months. So, you know, let's compile your data.
And you've had 12 rounds in that amount of time, right?
Yeah, exactly. So when you're looking at things like that, a lot of the really cool stuff that people don't think about is buying decisions. You know, golfers spend a lot of cash on equipment. Well, is that equipment improving you? Now, we found examples where it does, but we found examples where it doesn't. So before you go and spend $500 on a new driver, do you have a demo that you can take on the course and put it in as a new club on ShotScope, and suddenly, am I seeing distance improvements? Am I seeing accuracy improvements? It'll surprise, there's 60% that do see that, and there's probably 40% that don't see that. So it's trying to educate the golfer to say, okay, well, if I'm going to go make a purchase to my golf game, where's the most value? Well, look, in your gapping on your club averages, you've got a big hole around the 200-yard mark. Could you fit a hybrid in there? That'll do more for you than buying a new driver because your gains are pretty good. Yeah. So there's lots of ways that you can use performance tracking to improve your game, improve your wallet, improve, whatever it may be, or just play around with your buddies.
Okay. So on some of the stats, the different tabs, and I've not been able to find anything on your website on how to read the data and what is offered. But there's one called average, and then the next column is P period average?
Performance average. So we're actually in the middle of redoing our whole support website. Mm-hmm. And part of that is, okay, we know we need to do a little bit better at educating what some of the stats are, etc. Yeah. So for instance, performance average is for average distances. It removes bad shots and it removes good shots.
Right.
So the best way to think of performance average is that is the
like
distance.
A handicap.
Yeah. That's the distance that I'm going to hit a good 7-iron at. Okay. So for me, I'm trying to think. I think I'm about 177 for a performance average 7-iron. Now you can actually, what we're working on is there's a ball striking equation. Say your performance average will always be higher than your average distance because of the way the algorithm works that we have. But how close is your average to your performance average will actually dictate your consistency of strike. So excellent. we're working on that again. So, we've got lots of things in the mix, whether it be new performance pages on the app, Course Hub coming out, strokes gained for early next year, a number of things that are in the works.
Excellent. I have too much to ask you, so we're going to take another break and then we'll wrap. I promise we'll wrap this one up. If you're a fan of Golf Smarter and also enjoy hearing past episodes to learn more from our guests, then don't miss Golf Smarter Mulligans, your second chance to gain insights from the best instructors featured on Golf Smarter. This week, we bring back our conversation with Corey Taylor, a former college football player who found a career in his second passion as a TPI certified golf fitness trainer.
The research has shown that static stretching can actually desensitize the nervous system. Therefore, you can lose feel, because golf swing is all about feel and tempo, right?
Well, it's also a fast motion.
It is. So therefore, I'm really big on doing flexibility and range of motion exercises. Say you lay on your side with your knees to your chest, hands together, and I call this an open book, and you take your top hand and you turn your upper torso, keeping your knees on the ground and just stretching back and closing it, open and closing that book 4 or 5 to 10 times. That's more of a rotational, kind of a functional movement, because you'll be rotating back and forth in the golf swings. Therefore, that will kind of get the spine and the body loosened up in more in a functional manner. So I try to loosen up the body more in the golf swing pattern, if that makes sense to you guys. Just trying to keep the body and the body warmed up in a functional golf manner.
That's episode 79 of Golf Smarter Mulligans, featuring TPI certified golf fitness instructor Corey Taylor, being released this Friday. Both Golf Smarter and Golf Smarter Mulligans are free and available wherever you get your favorite podcasts. Please subscribe, and when you do, you'll be notified immediately when a brand new episode of either has downloaded to your favorite podcast app. Gavin, I couldn't let you get away because multiple times you've mentioned you played professionally. Now you got to reveal what. I need stories. Tell me about your professional golf career.
So I played college golf down in Florida. Came home, played for Scotland.
Is that why you went to Florida to go to school?
Yeah.
For golf?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And played for Scotland. We won the World Amateur Championship in 2008. Played Walker Cup at Merion in 2009. And then turned professional. I played a few European Tour events, but predominantly Challenge Tour, which is the Corn Ferry Tour in the US, effectively the equivalent. And just couldn't quite get there.
Get where? What was it that was holding you back?
I think I lost confidence from my amateur career. As an amateur, I was top 10 in the world. Successful, won tournaments around the world in the US and in Europe. And just couldn't quite get comfortable.
Different kind of pressure? Well, what was it? What do you think? Hopefully you're this far away from it now. You can look back and see where.
I'm not entirely sure as such. If I was to go and do it again, maybe I go and play in America.
Why?
Because I had success in college in America. I had success as an amateur in America. Europe is tougher on the travel. The courses, just because it's different countries, it's different languages, it's different food. It's almost the off golf course stuff. I would have had a base down in Florida where you could practice all year round. Instead, I lived in Morocco in the winter. So I think potentially that, but at the end of the day, at the same time, it's not everybody can make it.
Sure. So
my good stuff was good enough, but I just couldn't quite get it there all the time, or I'd throw it out for 2 or 2.5 rounds in a tournament, So, this, like you say, far enough away from it now that you're okay, and I enjoy playing golf again and all of that, and I can.
Was there a period you couldn't play?
Yeah, bizarrely, I kind of said to my coach, right, I'm finished, and then the next day I went and played golf. But I then, you come out of that world and go, okay, well, what am I going to do? So I actually went back over to the US to do a management course at Babson in Massachusetts. And I didn't play golf for 13, 14 months. And now with a young family, etc., my golf game is... And a dog, yes. My golf game is limited to certain opportunities. Sure. But, I can still get it round in a pretty good number. And PGA Show is the peak week of my golf season. I get 5 games in a week, and that's enough for me. So
yeah, but we're also jealous of you because you can always say, listen, I need to go play golf today. It's work.
Yes, I can, and
I have to do it for work.
And funnily enough, it's become a strength in my position in ShotScope and in the golf industry. I can go and entertain on a golf course very well. I don't have to worry about really what I'm doing, etc. I'm not nervous. I can hit the ball 300 yards. I can shoot decent scores. So it's become quite a strength to do that within the business world, and enjoy that. So, and you know what? You get to play some nice golf courses. with the golf industry, but you don't play as much as people think.
Yeah. Oh, no, we've learned that over the years that
Yeah.
people who grow up playing golf and just want to be in the golf industry, they don't get to play golf anymore. It's like, wait, that wasn't the idea.
Yeah, exactly. But it's, the standard's there. It's not quite what it's nowhere near what it was, but you know what? I'm still just the best golfer in ShotScope. Just.
Well, let's hope you maintain that.
No, it'll leave me, but yeah.
Do you need to deal with the baby?
Oh, you can hear that. No,
yes, I can.
She's just been brought in by my wife from a walk, so she's actually she's through a closed door, which probably shows how bad it is.
How old is she?
She is 20 months now.
Oh, congratulations!
So she's great fun. She's learning to repeat everything you say, so you now have to watch that.
Yeah,
and we're getting close to the terrible twos where she, it's her way or no way.
Oh, and that lasts for about 8 to 10 years.
Yeah.
So just don't teach her the word funnily.
Yeah.
Wow. Funnily enough, I don't think that's the Queen's English. Okay. Give me one of your favorite stories when you were playing professionally.
Oh, goodness.
Oh, okay. So your amateur or your professional days, since the pro days was more stressful. Give me just one good story. Something that just like, oh, I got one for you.
I mean, I can tell.
If I have to bleep it, I will.
I mean, I've been so fortunate to play around the world, different places. And travel with great people and to give you guys stuff. I mean, there's a golfer called John Morgan, an English golfer. He was one of the first people. I think he was first to qualify from the Q School to the European Tour and the PGA Tour at the same time. Played with Tiger. He's a phenomenal person to go and listen to. He's got a podcast just now, and he's fantastic to go and listen to. I used to struggle to play with him because I couldn't concentrate. But I mean, I've had all sorts of things where I had.
Wait, he distracted you? You couldn't concentrate?
Oh yeah, you couldn't concentrate. His stories his stories are incredible.
And he's just talking the entire time.
Yes. And the minute he knows he's got you, then you're really in problems. I was playing the third level tour in Italy, and I won in Italy that week, and then flew from Milan to Paris, and my golf clubs never showed up.
Oh dear!
So I finished 17th with a half rental set. The next week, playing with regular shafts and graphite shafts and all sorts of things. Crashed a few cars in different countries. Got a few speeding tickets in different countries.
I don't want to hear about your illegal activity. I just want a good story. It's so funny because the one time that my clubs didn't arrive on a golf trip, I had to rent clubs. My only hole-in-one.
Oh, really?
With rented clubs. After being on this show and telling people all the time, you got to get fitted for clubs. You got to get fitted for clubs. You got to get fitted for clubs. And I take out a rental set that wasn't even the type of clubs I was playing in. My only hole-in-one.
Oh, I tell you what, I've got a good story actually. Yeah.
Good. Go for it.
So we were playing an amateur tournament called Lytham Trophy. And Lytham Trophy is Royal Lytham. And we were down there the night before the practice round. The Scots used to travel together, so there was 4 of us. And we went out in a town called Blackpool, which is like a Jersey Shore type place. Woke up the next morning, a bit late getting to the tee, but Keir, one of the Scots who I actually went to college with in Florida, he tees off first. And you walk to Lytham, you can see the par 3 first hole. So we watch him hit his shot, etc. Get there, okay. What are we playing for today? 20 quid, here's the pairs, throw the balls up. I was in the opposite team to Keir. Her tee shots, walk up, he goes to the hole, picks the ball out, walks to the second tee, says you're one down. So as we've been walking to the first tee, he's hit his tee shot, he's had a hole in one, he's not reacted, he's just not said anything, waited to see whose team he was on, and then said, right, you're one down. which was good fun. Yeah.
Very good. Very good. Awesome. Thank you. Oh, well, I want to thank you so much for not only your time and your stories and your explanation, but your generosity, because we're going to be giving away a ShotScope V3. And we'll be announcing that in just a few minutes after we announce the winner of our last giveaway. But thank you so much, because this is one of the better products that are out there. If you into GPS, then this is the simplest thing you can possibly do, because it's on your wrist. And if you want to improve your game, this is the only product that really has the GPS and performance tracking that makes it so simple and is accurate and works well. So again, the average golfer improvement with ShotScope performance is 2.7 shots right there on the box. Gavin Dear of ShotScope, thank you so much for your time.
No, appreciate it. And as I said earlier, you know, if you're across in Scotland, we'll sort you out for some golf. More than happy to. The guys would love to take you out for a game. So there's the incentive to get across the pond. You might take you a couple of years, but
well, when we can travel again, we'll talk about it.
It's there. No, I appreciate that. It's been great fun.
Hey, you heard him say it. Not about Scotland. And I couldn't be more excited to announce that a very lucky Golf Smarter listener will win a ShotScope V3. Then ShotScope will ship it directly to your home address. You heard us talking about their supply chain and availability. It's extremely limited right now, so this is a real big deal that you'll get started using your ShotScope V3 soon after your name is announced as our winner. Registration is open right now at golfsmarter.com. Just click on the Enter Now banner at the top of the page. Deadline to enter is Sunday, November 1, 2020, midnight Pacific time, 3 a.m. Eastern time. That's also the day that we're changing our clocks, which is my least favorite time of the year because it's harder to get in 18 holes anytime after 11 a.m. over here. Also, I heard a great line the other day that just said that we're going to cancel changing the clocks this year because no one had any interest in making this year any longer than it has to be. All right. Now, what about that Lab Golf DF 2.1 putter? How badly do you want to put one of those in your bag? Well, if you don't live in Strongsville, Ohio, then you may want to take advantage of the 15% discount Sam has offered the Golf Smarter community with the checkout code GolfSmarter. One word, GolfSmarter, at labgolf.com. That's L-A-B, B as in boy, L-A-B-G-O-L-F, labgolf.com. Now, I just mentioned Strongsville, Ohio. Why? Well, because the winner comes from there. Congratulations, Stephen Reitz. You've won a putter. Stephen, I'll be sending you an email and copying their CEO, Sam Hahn, so that you too can get started with your fitting. Again, for more information and to get 15% off that Lab Golf putter for yourself, go to labgolf.com. And by the way, that offer expires on April 1, 2021. And if you need to hear more about the creation of the directed force putters before you make a purchase, then don't miss next week's episode, as our guest is Bill Pressey, the creator of the directed force putters, who I'm interviewing in about an hour and a half. I read an interesting article recently on golf.com about nutrition and hydration during your round. Basically, it's what we've discussed many times before. I think it was episode like 30 when Jim DeLobby talked about Sip and Nibble, which promotes grazing small bits of food and hydration all through your round, as opposed to pounding something at the turn. And mainly because then the wheels don't fall off. I'm telling you, I've been doing it ever since episode 30, and it really works. The wheels don't fall off as long as you're grazing through the round. Anyway, what caught my eye about this golf.com article is they have a new ongoing column called Play Smart. Clever. Original. If you have any questions, comments, or suggestions for products or guests, just click on the Hey Fred button at golfsmarter.com.